About a month ago, I had a really good period of training. And I keep thinking about that period of training. And I always talk to you guys about this idea of going back to your good periods of training and trying to work out what's actually happened. Study that period, study the preceding time before that little part of your life where you had really good training. I went from 160 kilos to 190 kilos for sets of 5, seemingly in like 2 or 3 weeks. It was a really productive time for me. Around that time, I also started doing something that I started calling marching, which is essentially raising your knees up and down, one leg at a time, kind of like a soldier marching. The idea behind that was hip flexors. I wanted to train my hip flexors. I wanted to do that antagonistic training of the glutes, essentially. It was kind of expanded on the idea of the glutes and the TFL are related through this ITB. The TFL is also kind of like a hip flexor, internal hip rotator, all that sort of stuff. And so I thought, why don't I train hip flexors directly? And that idea kind of evolves like it usually does with me. I always kind of think along the lines of, okay, let's precipitate this idea. What is actually happening in marching? Eventually led me to kind of test hip flexors versus glute medius. At the time I was thinking, is it really the hip flexors that are doing me good here? Or is it actually the supporting leg, the leg that's on the ground, standing and balancing? Standing on one leg requires a lot of glute medius, glute minimus. And so I thought, maybe this is a disguise. Maybe this is a disguise that I think it is hip flexors. But in fact, what's actually happening here is that it's actually the lateral hip that's actually working here. And so marching being this compound movement, this very, large movement, you got many moving parts. I went on this little campaign of mine trying to work out what's actually happening. And around that time, I basically lost a week and a half, maybe even 2 weeks of really good progress because I was beating around the bush. Consequently, I actually felt I was getting weaker and weaker with my squatting. And so no longer could I hit 190 for 5. I went to 180. Now I'm doing 160, back to square one after a month of kind of like doing a roundabout. Now, in this period, I was kind of doing lots of other things. I actually changed my training in recent days from 5s to 3s to 2s, and all sorts of things was happening in this period. I went back to work. That was kind of a big indicator as well of why training kind of suffered a little bit. This morning is another morning session. It's a 4:30 start. Right now I'm talking to you guys. It's 6, what is it? Not even 6 o'clock, 5:45. So a bunch of things happened, but I keep thinking about that marching business. The marching business led to me squatting really well. Now, some of you guys have been watching me for a little while. You know that I struggle with anterior pelvic tilt. Some of you guys have spoken to me about anterior pelvic tilt. We've had some good discussions. A lot of you guys have said, have you considered that anterior pelvic tilt is actually a normal phenomenon and you just have to embrace it and it is what it is? And even though that sounds, okay to me, and I see a lot of top-level athletes with anterior pelvic tilt, not a lot of people are squatting every day. And anterior pelvic tilt, it seems, is not a big problem until it becomes a problem. I think anterior pelvic tilt is not conducive to squatting really well. And this is why when I was doing marching, when I was doing hip flexor work, I was finding lots of benefits there because it was addressing this anterior pelvic tilt. There is something happening in my hip girdle that is causing this imbalance, this shift of balance in the pelvis. And I don't think it's good. You can make it work depending on who you are, but I don't think it's good. Now, to expand this thought a little bit more, I started thinking about other areas of sport or fitness. And one thing that popped into my head last night and days before, in fact, I might have said this to you guys before, but very often I go back to watching highlights of Mike Tyson. I don't know what it is about it. To me, his mentality, his performances are so freaking remarkable to me, both from a physical perspective and also from a psychological perspective. I feel like studying that guy is is beneficial to all of us. His work ethic, his demeanor. I often felt like he knocked people out before he even stepped into the ring because of how he approached the thing. In recent days, I've kind of been looking at this whole boxing thing, and I kept thinking about Mike Tyson and Muhammad Ali, and then later down the track I thought about Tom Platz. All of these kind of stories kind of popped into my head, and I started kind of finding these patterns. These gentlemen did a lot of freaking sit-ups. You guys saw me at the start of this video doing sit-ups. This is kind of an evolution of thought behind marching. Hip flexion. Whether you're doing a sit-up, whether you're doing a hanging leg raises, whether you're doing a standing knee raise, it all trains this movement pattern of hip flexion. Hip flexion is opposite to hip extension. Hip extension is squats and deadlifts. I think there is benefit training the exact opposite. I've been saying this for a little while. I think push-pull, there's a balance there. It is remarkable to me that Muhammad Ali has many a time said, I don't start counting sit-ups until they start to hurt. This man will do hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of repetitions in one set. He was very good at sit-ups. Mike Tyson was, very well, known to do thousands of sit-ups a day, along with apparently thousands of bodyweight squats. I remember Tom Platz talking about this similar thing where he said that he would do one set of sit-ups for an hour. So he would go into that decline crunching sit-up-y thing, the decline bench. And I remember once, I don't know exactly where the video is, somewhere in the back of my mind, I heard him say this. He did a set of sit-ups for an hour. Now, if you can imagine what the hell that looks like, he's in that machine for a whole bunch of time and he's doing sets. He's doing reps, when he gets started, he stops for a bit and he keeps going. What these people have in common is incredibly strong anterior cores. Now, you might think to yourself, but the contemporary belief about ab training is dead bugs, planks, pull-off presses, all of these things. And while I think these exercises are not bad, I keep thinking to myself, the gentlemen I just mentioned were leaders in their fields. Tom Platz, the greatest legs of all time, very, very successful bodybuilder. Muhammad Ali, Mike Tyson, some of the best boxers ever to live. Did they do pull-off presses? Did they do planks? They might have, but I don't hear that being the story. What I keep hearing about is these old school exercises of sit-ups. Sit-ups. As basic as that. But now in this age, with lots of scientists and lots of white lab coats everywhere, everyone's got PhDs, everyone's writing papers. All of a sudden, dead bugs is better than sit-ups. All of a sudden, pull-off presses are better. It's almost like we don't know what the hell we're doing. We're just trying to pull something out of our ass so we can coin a term, coin an exercise, so we can, justify our existence. Pull-off press. Dead bug. It annoys me. It really annoys me. When I first started training, when I first started getting into this stuff, I used YouTube, I used Google as my educator. I didn't have people around. I had a personal trainer. He taught me the basics, but I knew that his ceiling was very, very low. So I moved away. Because I knew I wanted to learn more and I wanted to dig deep. And so I started reading. And a lot of the stuff that you access on YouTube, a lot of the stuff you access on Google, the search results that are at the top of the page are basically people who are expressing their thoughts. Now, if you say to somebody, I think sit-ups are the king, that's not remarkable. But if you say you need to do 5 twists, 1 squat, and 1 squat above your head, it's interesting. Okay, so this is new. This has never been done before. But why do we disregard what Mike Tyson, what Muhammad Ali did? Why do we disregard some of these basic fundamental laws? These people were heavyweight champions. These people were top of the line sports people. So what they did is ineffective. Oh, it causes back pain. Sit-ups cause back pain. Squatting causes knee pain. Squatting snap your back. Squatting will snap your hips. A lot of these things start to annoy me when I, as somebody who absorbs a lot of this information on the internet for a long time now, 8, 9 years now, 10 years I would say, even longer, since I started kind of learning stuff bit by bit. A piece of information can send you down a wrong freaking road, and it will take you a long, long time before you realize you're down the wrong road. You can't do sit-ups. It will snap your back. I remember hearing that as a freaking young guy, man. As a young teenager, okay, I can't do sit-ups because that's going to hurt my back. Meanwhile, in the freaking 90s, Mike Tyson's knocking people out doing 2,000 sit-ups a day. I heard one guy comment on Mike Tyson saying, Mike Tyson got a lot of his strength from his core, from his abs. His sit-ups did a lot of good to Mike Tyson. Now, I'm not a boxing expert. I'm not even a weightlifting expert. I'm just merely somebody sitting on the sidelines observing the landscape ahead of me. And I see inconsistencies and I see foolish things being said. And I have said some foolish things as I'm digesting some of the shit that's coming my way. And I'm sitting here, I'm trying to work out what the hell is going on. So sit-ups are good enough for Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali, man. Muhammad Ali. But it's not good enough for me. I need a Pallof press. I need a dead bug. Where the hell is my belt? Where is my heavyweight boxing belt? Where is my title? These are the things that piss me off. This morning I came in. I did some sit-ups last night. I did some sit-ups this morning. Yeah, I knew it was going to be a shit session because it's 4:30 in the morning, man, and I'm stiff as hell. And yesterday I had a big squat session. So I came in here and my front squats looked horrible. I'm leaning over a whole bunch and I just went, screw it. Let's just do some sit-ups. So I did some sit-ups beforehand. I did some squatting and then I did some sit-ups afterwards. This thought process of marching did me good. Squatting became really good. I'm progressing this marching into a sit-up kind of little block now. I want to experiment with lots of sit-ups. Why sit-ups? Why not hanging leg raises? Why not any of these things? You can do any of these things as long as it's hip flexion. I'm following along the lines of Muhammad Ali and Mike Tyson. To me, those people were very, very impressive. Very impressive. Now, you might say, well, they didn't win those titles because they were doing sit-ups. You can say that, whatever. We're not going to argue about those things. But the fact that they spend so much damn time doing a certain exercise under some of the greatest coaches around, the results speak to them by themselves, basically. That's what I'm saying here. I don't know. Sometimes I go crazy thinking about all this stuff. Sometimes I think to myself, the more the world advances, the more we just, I don't know, man. I feel like these egos, I feel like everyone wants to be a businessman. Everyone wants to do something. Everyone's starting a business, doing something. Everyone's selling you some shit. And no longer basic shit. No longer doesn't matter. I don't know. Sometimes I think to myself, we overcomplicate this shit. Sometimes I think to myself, I don't know what's going on, man. Like I consume so much of this stuff. I read so much of this stuff. And you know, at the bottom of the page, the top of the page, it says Dr. So-and-so. He's a doctor. Man, I've met some dumbass doctors in my time, man. That DR at the front doesn't mean jack shit. Absolutely doesn't mean jack shit. And so many of you guys have messaged me saying, my doctor says I should never squat or deadlift ever again. How many times have you heard people say that? My doctor says, man, okay, so doctor of what? General practice. So he's a doctor. He's a general practitioner, and he's got enough smarts to talk about what? He's got a PhD in squats, does he? He's got a PhD in sports performance, sports medicine. He's worked with LeBron James. He's worked with everyone. He knows exactly what squatting is. I bet you that bloke has never taken a squat squatting ATG hurts your knees and hips. Some of you guys message me all these things, and like, I don't want to send you down the wrong path, man, but I just want you to think about these things. Squatting and deadlifting is not going to wreck your body. Those things are going to make you good, just like sit-ups are going to make you good. It's all about the dose, right? It's all about the form. If you squat incorrectly, if you do sit-ups incorrectly, if you do incorrect things, you are at fault, not the exercise. Anyway, I got to get out of here. I got to go to work. But anyway, that's what's on my mind this morning. I've got a bunch of names to mention in this video. Actually, 2 names. Wolf and Hector Mata. Both fellas popped up overnight. Appreciate you guys. I always say to everyone, I appreciate you. I feel blessed. I can't believe that I have the support that I do. I can't believe that people want to listen to me talk this crap that's in my mind. What I'm working out is a lot of us have the same thoughts. A lot of us are going through the same ideas. And listening to me talk about me digesting my stuff helps you guys in a way. And then you guys throw stuff back at me in the comments, and it's like a win-win situation where we're just sharing ideas and trying to make sense of all of this mess. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.